In the previous episode, it was established that Mariette Bosch had smuggled a firearm into Botswana and that her best friend, Ria Wolmerans, was killed with this weapon on the night of the 26th of June 1996. Tini Wolmerans, husband of the deceased, implicated that Henny Coetzee, Ria's employer, was her killer. The investigative team came to the conclusion that Henny Coetzee was an unlikely suspect. The saga continues.
Since we've eliminated Henny Coetzee, let's look at the other role players. And I think our obvious choice would be the mistress.
Mickey, I keep wondering what motive could Mariette have had to kill Ria? The court implied that it was because she wanted to marry Tini, but she must have known that Ria was going to sue for divorce, because Ria told her parents that, and as her best friend, I'm sure she knew it. So why would she murder Ria? Why could she not just wait for the divorce to come through and then marry Tini?
Yes, that's a good question. Since it was just a matter of time, why didn't she just wait? You know, usually the motives for murder are passion, financial benefit, revenge, anger, or to prevent somebody from uncovering or revealing some kind of information. Mm-hmm. And I think in this case we can eliminate passion because she knew the divorce was coming.
Of course, there are always financial implications linked to divorce.
When Ria was in Botswana the first time, Tini never paid his bills, like his rent and stuff, and people came to her and it intimidated her because he never paid his bills. I think that's one of the reasons why she left him.
Henny Coetzee had been traumatized by the allegations made by Tini Wolmerans that he was involved in Ria's murder and refused any interviews on camera. He did, however, confirm through his lawyer, Mr. Rassie Erasmus, that Kwena Rockler had paid out an amount of approximately 200,000 pula of Ria's life insurance to Tini Wolmerans.
I think that they must have done it for the money.
What money?
Life insurance, policies, retirement package from the work, all those things. I mean, she was busy divorcing him, so if he didn't want to carry on in the marriage, she would have divorced him like that. No problems. But he knew if he divorced her, he would have nothing.
He even refused to put a tombstone on her grave.
I think there was an insurance policy which was quite big. Don't forget that Ria was a financial controller. She certainly knew accountancy and knew what happens in companies about insuring yourself and pensions and life assurance and that type of thing. So she certainly was properly insured, but I don't know to what degree.
We have to ask the question, did she have the means and the motive and the intelligence to commit such a crime?
What sort of person was Mrs. Mariette Bosch?
On a human level, she appeared to be a very simple woman, a very quiet woman, very reserved. That was the impression I had of her. There
must be a difference between a crime of passion and then a premeditated murder.
Normally one would expect a premeditated murder from somebody that has a little bit more a violent profile, that is in fact intellectually higher in IQ, a person that can organize much better.
I was told by another member of the family that after the first hearing, Mariette was asked to turn state witness, in which case she would only be fined 200 pula. And they went to see her in the cells afterwards and said to her, you know, why don't you turn state witness? And she said, I can't. No, he's been too good to me. He's been too good to me. What do you make of that?
Based on the person I saw in prison, and appreciating it was an unusual setup, people being locked away in prison. I don't know how strong a character she was, and I wouldn't know how much of a say she had in making that decision.
Could she have been manipulated by someone?
You know, Judge Abogaya found the motive for the murder in this case to be an illicit love affair.
Right.
In which the mistress killed the wife. In cases like these, where there's a love triangle involved, the police would always investigate the motive and the alibi of the spouse.
You know what I find strange is that in this case, the husband's alibi was never properly established, and I wonder why.
Well, you know, in order for the defense to get a defendant acquitted or to prove extenuating circumstances, they have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant was either not involved or that the defendant was used as an instrument in murder. But remember now, they can't oppose two spouses against each other. And the prosecution, on the other hand, would not cross-examine a spouse if that's going to weaken the case against the defendant. So it's a catch-22 situation.
Who originally contacted you to become involved in the case?
I was approached by the local human rights organization, Ditshwanelo, the director, Ms. Mokwe.
What was Mr. Wolmarans's alibi for the night of the murder?
No, I don't recall. I don't recall there being an alibi or that area being pursued.
But you had hoped, though, to reach clemency by pursuing further evidence.
Yes, I did have a basis, but I won't get into details in this interview. In my interview with Ms. Bosch, I learned from my discussions with her, and also from my reading of the record, that there were certain areas in her case which I believe had not been properly explored or adequately explored. And I believe that if there had been further investigation into those areas, evidence could have surfaced, which possibly could have been placed before the President in the clemency hearing, for the President to at least reconsider whatever decision he may otherwise have arrived at. Right. Okay, or at least to postpone the clemency hearing so as to give time to dig up more evidence.
Why do you think that the investigation did not come up with more evidence?
What Mrs. Bosch needed in that case, it was a rather complicated case and difficult. What she needed was not so much the services of the best lawyer, but the services of a very good private investigator. This was a sort of case which required proper forensic and other investigation.
Is it true that in Botswana a wife cannot testify against her spouse?
Yeah, privilege.
What was Tini's alibi for the night of the murder? He said to some people that he was in Maun, which is 6 hours' drive away from Gaborone. Yet to some other people he said that he was in Francistown, which is about 4 hours' drive away. And there are also unconfirmed reports of him flying into Gaborone with Air Kalahari on the night of the murder. I would have liked to have talked to Tini about it, but at the moment he's not talking to me.
Christa Bosch testified that Tini and Mariette had an affair since 1993. There are many incidences quoted in the judgment, and it was enough to convince the judge that the affair had existed.
And when Tini came for Ria's funeral, he didn't come alone, did he?
No, Mariette came with him.
And where did they stay when they came over for the funeral?
My mom prepared where Lorette and them are staying now, in the flat. She prepared the bedroom for Mariette and Marina, Mariana and Suane, eh? Was Suane here?
No, they weren't there.
Just for the three of them, she prepared the flat for them.
Yeah.
But she didn't sleep in the flat. She slept